Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 89 of Bucs UK TV. I'm joined by Alex, as usual, and we have two new co-hosts for you this week. Wayne Skelton-Huff, hello.
Hi.
And Simon Charman, hello.
Hello.
Hi. So, Wayne, let's start with you then. So, just tell the readers where you come from, how you became a Bucs fan, and when you found the Bucs UK.
Okay, so I live in Cambridge, originally from Luton. I became a Bucs fan about 37 years ago. It's a very long, convoluted story about friends who cheated at things, and I managed to beat them with a Bucs team in a game. And I thought I was after a team to follow, and I thought actually I quite like their kit, so I'll join them. And then a couple of years later, Jeffrey Falcs was Athletic something or other in Tampa. He suggested the Bucs UK, and I joined, and I've been a member ever since.
Yeah, you are one of our longer running members. And Simon, you've also got good pedigree as well. Tell us about your Bucs journey.
Yeah, my Bucs journey started for a lot of people probably. I went to the Super Bowl wide right in Tampa in '91.
Yeah.
Luckily to manage to get in the ground for that one. And then went back in '92, saw my first pre-season game, which started out with Hall of Shame Vinny Testaverde, followed up by a very old Steve DeBerg, and ended up with Craig Erickson. But we did beat the Falcons. So it was 41-28, and it all really started from there. I originally started going over on tours with Sports Travel Tours, and then I've been taking now a group of 4 or 5 of us right for about 15 years up until lockdown. We actually went at one point 7 consecutive times without seeing a win. And the boys kept going, and having said the drinking got better, the partying got better, and I remember that we actually, one of the games we played Baltimore, and we were, I think it was 28-0 down about 5 minutes into the second quarter. And I even turned to the boys and said, shall we go? But I haven't been over since lockdown. I've missed the Brady era in terms of going live. But after seeing Bruce Gradkowski and, a variety of quarterbacks, it's in heaven for me at the moment, being a Bucs fan. We're relevant, and I've been relevant for 3 years now. So that's
perfect.
Good.
It is good.
Yeah.
So what's nice also is, no offense, but it's not often I'm one of the youngies on the podcast, so I quite like that too. You and me, Alex, we're the youth. That's why
I'm always one of the youngest on the pod, so I'm used to it,
Yeah, well, it's funny, Simon. You mentioned about actually seeing the Bucs beat the Falcons at some point in time, so that's probably as good a segue as ever. I don't think we're going to spend masses of time talking about the Atlanta game in the way we normally pour over everything. We want to move on and focus on to the playoffs. But maybe, Wade, if I start with you, kind of are there any takeaways from the Falcons?
I think the biggest takeaway is I'm worried about how shallow our backups are. If we start losing starters, we're tubed, but in certain positions like secondary and things like that, that was really laid bare, I thought, at the pre-season game. Sorry, the game we watched last year.
It did feel a bit like a pre-season game, didn't it? And obviously, you're right. So there were lots of backups coming on the field. And it was a bit like you sort of had to have your roster to hand to work out number who, who was that. Simon, was there anyone that particularly caught your eye? Perhaps someone of the name Trask. Do you think we saw enough from him?
No, I think at the end of the day, he was. He took his time to get started, even in high school. He took his time to even get the job in Florida. I didn't see anything other than see him on the pitch, but I couldn't take anything from that. I'm sort of the opinion that our next quarterback, whenever he may come, possibly isn't on the roster at the moment. I'm of that view. I think that for the Glazers to continue to sort of keep this going, we need to go big again.
Aaron Rodgers.
You know, who?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Oh crikey! I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that much drama. What about you, Alex? I mean, should we be worried that we've gone into the postseason on a loss?
We all know that the postseason is a completely different animal to the regular season. You know, it's so impossible to predict what's going to happen in the postseason each time. I'm not too worried we went back on the back of a loss. I agree with what Wayne said, though, that it does show how shallow the backups are. And as he said, you know, if we lose a player to injury, what is that going to mean? Particularly when it is win or go home in the postseason. So no, the loss doesn't worry me, but the state of backups is a bit concerning.
Yeah. I think that was probably exposed most on the line. It felt like. I mean, I think I haven't gone through snap counts and things, but it felt like it wasn't just the backups; it was the third string that were out there and playing again. You know, and the Falcons kept a lot of their starters in. They were trying very much to get good tape and play for their careers, and quite rightly so. I mean, Simon, if you were to sort of frame, was it the O, the D? Who was better on the day? Do you think?
On the day, I think first half, and that's really what I was interested in. I think we started well. I think we continued what we'd done in the latter part of the Carolina game, and I thought, you know, to go down and score first possession. Again, it was like a pre-season game when you get the starters in for the first, you know, couple of series and that sort of thing. I agree with the other guys. Second half, I mean, our inside linebackers behind Levante and Devon. Wow, you know, I'd have been putting my big boy pads on and going out there really. But so yeah, no, that is scary. But other than that, I think as I say, yeah, what I liked was that they did try and continue it. They were a bit more positive in the plays that were run. We did see a few different things. I thought I think there was a reverse of Devin Tompkins at one point, and I thought, oh, you know, hey, that's something we could do something. But you know, so that's my thoughts on it really. Second half, to be honest with you, I could just as easily been ironing my shirts in the corner. You know, it really wasn't. I watch every game like a fan. I live, I die. You know, in the process of watching a game, I'm horrendous. But really, second half, you know, the lights were on, but no one was home.
Yeah, it does feel that way. It feels like sometimes it's highs and lows. You know, it's fantastic. We're going to win the Super Bowl. No, we'll crap at fire everyone, and you know, and everything in between. Wayne, you were on board with me and a lot of the other Bucs UK members on the forum during the game. And I must admit, it's our end of season disco, the last game of the regular season each year. We encourage everyone to come onto the forum. It was quieter than normal, but what would you characterize? What was the vibe, do you think, from most of the members about the situation, about the game?
I thought it was very subdued on the forum, to be honest. Normally there's a fair amount of banter, and it was, apart from whoever it was Alex going to the pub or someone going to the bar, there was big gaps in it. And
normally, because there's nothing to play for, the Bucs season is over, and so we're all just getting deliriously drunk as we're posting during the game. Yeah, it could be. But we've, as usual, we have some of our members' opinions, and we shall see those now. So our first comment: Michael Casey doesn't pull any punches. Well, that was pretty crap. But bring on those Cowboys. I think we all understand the significance or lack thereof of the game. Wayne, I had to quote you. You can not sure what to think about that game, to be honest. We know it didn't matter, but it would have been nice to carry some sort of momentum into the postseason. Do you think how big do you think momentum or lack thereof is? We'll come and talk about the game itself, but
I've always felt that momentum is a big deal, but we seem to have gone this year. We seem to have loads of momentum, and then suddenly it's gone the following week or even the second half.
Yeah.
And we don't seem to be able to hold the momentum. So I'd have thought I would have liked to have seen us take a victory in and people go into the postseason believing, because I do get the impression that the we can believe mentality may have slipped a bit this year.
Yeah, 100%. Daniel Markowski, into the playoffs with a losing record, sigh. Yet the Bills are out there with a full squad going for it despite having 12 wins. We should have treated this game like any other, in my opinion. I mean, Simon, hindsight's 2020. I think it was, who was it? Was it John Zinkus on the forum who said, how would you have liked it if we kept all the starters in and Vita Vea and Chris Godwin went down injured?
Oh, totally. Well, it's game over. I mean, at the end of the day, the game didn't matter. I understand what people are saying, but to lose, a Vita Vea or a Chris Godwin or anybody like that in the process of a game that was really sort of pointless in terms of the future, I think we have got to exactly where we wanted to be. We wanted to be in the playoffs. We've got a home tie. We've got the GOAT. Okay, he will no doubt this week be making up all sorts of reasons why he's been wronged, a la Michael Jordan, in order to get this going. And okay, yeah, it'd have been great to get there with 12, 13 wins, whatever it may be, but it's been one of those years, and I think now that this could be Brady's last game. This could be Brady's last game. Don't you think he's going to put them big boy pads on, and I think it's all going to change.
He's going to want it. He's going to want it. You're right.
Really want it. Yeah, I think they're going to really want it this weekend. Let's see where it goes.
Okay, last opinion from our good friend Pete Payne. Hey, at least the third string has got to experience a game and shake some rust off. Never know when we might need one of them. So as you said, Simon, it's fantastic that it's a home game. I think that makes a big difference. Certainly we wouldn't want to be going to somewhere, like Green Bay, where they're all bashing their bits of plastic on the handrails or something. But I guess keys to the game, Dallas isn't a rubbish team by any stretch of the imagination. I think we're probably glad it's not the Eagles. What do we need to be concerned of about the Cowboys, do you think?
From my perspective, I think, some of our fitness, having our guys back, it seems as if most will be okay from what I've been sort of listening to this morning.
And possibly Ryan Jensen. Never say never, but
wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? I mean, what I was looking at, I was watching the game, and there was a player out there, and he had like this red tinge behind his. Well, Jensen doesn't need that tinge because he's just the original. He's our ginger badass, and literally wants to fight everybody, wants to dominate, wants to intimidate. And he's my sort of guy all day long. But yeah, whether he's able to play, I mean, the offensive line is generally how you dance. It's always it's how, and he's been out of it all year long. Hasn't done a thing. I mean, obviously, if Hainsey's not able to go, the only other thing that worries me a touch is that Mike had this sickness bug, and apparently it's working through the camp a little bit. Positives for me, I think Zach always generally gives teams a chance, and always liable for the interception. Was it 7 in the last 7 or whatever it is? Always tends to give opposing teams a chance. With our D, if they're on time, we don't need that many chances, I think. And also that I heard an interesting stat about Parsons saying only 1.5 sacks in like the last 7 games. So although, he is a force and a force to be reckoned with, perhaps he's playing with injury. I don't know. Perhaps he's...
Yeah, Micah Parsons reminds me a lot of a JPP or a Sue type player. They rise to the occasion, I think.
Yeah,
I think for the games.
Yeah.
I mean, Wayne, Simon's mentioned Dak and Mika and some of the big players, but kind of let's start looking at the Dallas O. I mean, they're no shirkers, and they seem to be one of the rare teams that's fairly balanced. I mean, they're slightly statistically better at rushing than average, maybe the passing. But I mean, do you think they're gonna cause the D some trouble?
I think I do think they will. I think they're going to come out and try and run it and get the rush established early. And if they succeed, and we've seen throughout the sort of second half of this season that we can be rushed on this year, and if they get through the front sort of seven, then we can't tackle for toffee. I don't think. I think we're going to have a long day, and if we get behind, then they're just going to run it straight down our throats. I think, or try to.
So Alex, you're now the D coordinator. You've probably got no, don't smile. The D coordinators don't smile. Remember, don't show any form of passion whatsoever. But what plays are you going to be calling? How do we counter the Cowboys? Do you think?
Do I need to? Is this my Todd Bowles impression? No emotion. Is that?
No,
is that
no,
what
no.
we're
I don't. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's stop going full on Todd
Okay,
Bowles.
sorry,
Maybe just channel your inner Todd Bowles.
So a big point for me is what Simon mentioned, which is Dak Prescott. He's got, I believe, he's tied for the most interceptions this season. With I think it's 15 years. I think it's 15. We know we can get pressure on the quarterback, particularly when we've got players such as Vita Vea in there. And actually, it's just sort of thinking back to the Atlanta game, JTS managed to get a bit of pressure in there, and he was causing some issues. Hi to Wayne's cat. So I think if we can get that penetration from the D line, force those throws from Dak, and we know what our defense is like. We've seen it over the last few seasons, and get that boat rolling and get some interceptions in there, and really cause Dak to be uncomfortable. Then I think we've got a good chance of winning this. So I want to see blitzes from Todd Bowles. I want to see rushes from the edge. I want pressure on Dak Prescott. But then we've also got to be careful because we are calling a lot of soft coverage as well. So if we get the rush going, all that leads to receivers on Dallas' side. All they've got to do is call 5 or 6 yard routes for their receivers, and all Dak's got to do is just pop it over the top, and boom, they're going to pick up 5-6 yards each time.
It's a good point, because the more pressure you throw, the more you're leaving everyone at the back end on an island. And CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, Michael Gallup, they are no shirkers. And in fact, both Zeke and Tony Pollard aren't bad catching out of the backfield either. If you we've seen JTS get a little bit close and end up being out of position on some of those plays. Talking about Zeke and Tony, Simon, do you think the running game is something we worry about? Years past, it was always be that the Bucs were god awful against the pass, but you wouldn't run on us and that seems to have disappeared a little bit, doesn't it?
I think it has this last, as you say, the half of the season. It's just been, every game very much has been a sort of a game of two halves, really. I was thinking about Joe Tryon a little bit. I was watching him a lot, and obviously he's played a lot more snaps. He just seems to sort of get so close and not quite get that quarterback. And the number of times I was on Sunday, I was going, he's got him, and no, he hasn't. And so realistically, I think he's learning on the job. Learning on the job. It's going to be a big year for him, I think, next year. But overall, yes, we have been run on. I think again, what we said about the big players in the big games, I think it's time. It's a Devon White show. I think it really could be. I think Anton Winfield, it's time for them sorts of guys. And I think with Devon White, when he had the bit of criticism earlier in the season, he came back from that. And I think this game that's just gone just wasn't a game worth sort of worrying about in terms of sort of performance too much. It was mainly, did they all come through as healthy as can be? I'd like us to actually make some interceptions rather than bat the balls down. And I'd put Carlton Davis up against anybody. It's the other side. SMB seems to be giving away silly penalties and things. But overall, it's unfortunately, if one or more of our corners can't go, I think then it does change the shade of the game a little bit, because you're right, we haven't got much depth. But
I don't know what the situation is with Logan Ryan at the moment, but the fact you sort of see D Delaney out there sometimes does worry me a little bit, because although he's a sort of familiar name because he's been there a while, he's buried down the depth chart, and it shows. If I always know if Delaney's out there, it's the rookie guy Zion McCullum. If they're out there, I mean Zion's a special teams player this year, and if they're out there in the secondary, something's going wrong. So I completely agree.
Yeah, one thing I've never sorry.
Sorry, Wayne. No, just quickly say, what you were saying there. One thing we know about playoffs is experience is key. And why I don't want to dismiss the quality of the young players we've got. We want players like Logan Ryan who are available. So if you just need that little bit of an experienced head, sometimes that can just be they can make that one play that changes everything.
I mean, I would love Logan Ryan. So you've got Jamil Dean, Colton Davis, Anton Winfield, Mike Edwards, and then you've got Sean Murphy or Logan Ryan coming in as your nickel and your dime backs. I think that's as good a secondary as you need to win a championship. The problem comes if it's not those 5 or 6, then teams will pick on whoever it isn't. And we're up against good players. Let's flip to the other side of the ball then, because we're going to need to put some points on. Unfortunately, when you start 0-0, you do have to at least score some points in order to win. That has been a bit of a problem this year, hasn't it, Wayne? So what's the secret for this game?
I think the secret for this game is try and catch them off guard. Let's not run it up the gut on first down and be predictable. Let's do something.
We'll do that on 3rd and 1 instead, shall we?
Yeah, because we had a lot of success with that. But no, I think we need to. Tom and Mike seem to have got on the same page at last. Not last week, but the week before, Mike exploded for record 203 yards and 3 or 4 TDs. With him and Chris Godwin, you've got such a good 1-2 punch there, and then you've got Oten as the rookie who's
he's beating his way into the starting lineup, hasn't he?
Yeah. And we've got a good running back stable there as well, so we can still be balanced, but we need to stop being so predictable. And the fact I'm not the best person at stats, but I can sit and watch a game and go, oh yeah, run straight into the back of the center. Oh yeah, there we go. I think we need to work out what works and change it up. Let's do something.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because Simon, you said earlier about the wide receiver reverse or end around or whatever it was to Tompkins, and there were a couple of, I think it was at least 2 plays where we did outside pitches, so we ran the ball outside off of a pitch rather than a handoff. Do you think Byron Leftwich has got something secret he's been keeping in the playbook?
I think he could either be the cleverest man that's sitting in Tampa Bay at the moment, because I have a feeling that it all could change. I think there's been games even where Brady has treated the ball a little bit like a hot potato. You can understand he's 45 years of age and doesn't want to get bashed up, and you can totally understand that. But I did like those few things. I think Chris Godwin is becoming Chris Godwin again. Each game seems to become, you're seeing more of those catches. You're seeing him back, and for him to get 1,000 yards, 100 catches, from what was a pretty bad injury, and to come back and to even start, and perhaps he started a bit early. He got the hammy, didn't he? And then he was out for 2 or 3 weeks or wherever it was. So realistically, I see him as being a key, and I think Brady's just gonna. I have a feeling that he might, we might go for it. I think we might.
True. I think with Godwin and Evans, it feels like they've never both been healthy in actually some time. The fact they're playing is testament to how strong they are. But then, I think I saw a chart on Twitter earlier. Someone does the jerseys in order and by size based on how many touchdowns Tom Brady has thrown to all players over his entire career. And I think Mike Evans, in only 3 years, he's like 5th on that list. And if he had 3 or 4 or 5 touchdowns over the postseason, could easily come up to like 3rd. You think we had Gronk for a while as well. So yeah, I mean, it's an impressive lineup still. I think that could cause people some problems. And I like what you said about big plays, because I just always go back to Scotty Miller against the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl season that came out of nowhere. And for 2 seasons afterwards, Miller was a marked man, which was fine, and they all knew we were going to go deep, but it scared them. And that's the kind of the thing it feels like we need a bit more. I mean, Alex, kind of, if you can, I'm going to make you now channel your inner Byron Leftwich. No impression required. Don't worry again. But kind of, what do we need to see? What are we going to be calling? What personnel packages do you want?
What we'll be calling Ramp the Gut and Burst Down is what we'll be calling. That's what it'll be called. I want to see plays that protect Tom Brady. That's what I want, because that is when Tom Brady is at his absolute best. And I've been saying it a lot this season. You know, look at what happens when Brady is pressured. That's when we see the interceptions, when we see the ball being thrown out of play, and all the rest of it. You know, when Mike Evans got his 200+ yards and the first half against the Atlanta game, Brady was being protected exceptionally well by the O-line. And we were seeing, the Tom Brady that has made him the GOAT, but that's because he's always been protected so well. So if Byron Leftwich dials up plays where, we can get the wide receivers downfield, maybe keep tight end or tight ends if we get two on the field, just to help protect Brady. As long as Mike Evans is healthy, and obviously we hope that he is, and that this bug or virus or whatever it is not going to go through the camp too badly at all, or not at all. Then to have the likes of Godwin, Evans, Gage, who has got a Tompkinson, etc. Sorry, Tompkins. Sorry. There's no reason why we can't see those big plays, and we can see, we can get that win, but we have got to protect Tom Brady. For me, that is the utmost key for our offense. And if we can get that line working well, we can dial up those plays, then we're going to see the running backs coming to it as well, because the space will be created for them to get through the A, B, C gaps, etc. To make some big plays there.
I think that's a really good point.
I think that O-line is just fundamental.
I mean, it's an obvious point, but the key to Bill Belichick when he did used to make the playoffs, all those years in a row, was they made mediocre receivers look good because Brady can get them the ball. I think that's a really, really excellent point. So then, final phase of the game, special teams, before we come on to your predictions. As you know, anyone that watches this show shows I care hugely about special teams, and I think field position is going to be massive in this game. It's all going to be a bit tense. It's all going to be a bit antsy. The Cowboys are a team that, although when they're not in our division, we've played them an awful lot in recent years, and each time it always seems to be a bit itchy, a bit twitchy, and sort of comes down to it. So, kind of, Wayne, what are you looking for, or most improvement in special teams?
A decent return, I think, was what I would like to see more than anything. I forget the guys who our current returner is, but when he came in,
Devin Tompkins,
he was going.
Scotty Miller seems to be also out there on kickoffs.
But yeah, he was going for it, and he wasn't afraid. And the last couple of games, he's been fair catching it, and it's almost as if he's been coached. Don't run it back, and it's even when there's a big gap in front of him, they just sort of catch it, and just don't seem to return it. I don't know why. That's the thing I think we need to improve the most. Obviously, punting is not an issue, particularly as we don't have that ruddy scoreboard to bounce it off now.
Yes.
That's been
the rage at least. Yes.
Yes, as a bolt out of the blue. Kicking under 50 yards, I think he's still spot on, but
so suck up,
suck up. But everyone knows that he struggles over 50, but we seem to be kicking him out there for
everyone apart from the person calling the plays.
Yes, but no, I think that's it. I think his field positions, as you say, is going to be key. And luckily, we must have one of the best punters. I don't know where he is in the league at the minute, but he's got to be one of the best. And he's reliable.
When I last looked, he was top 5. But I think, interestingly, again, of course, the familiar name for the Falcons, Bradley Pinion, actually did better than Kamada on Sunday. He was on top form. So Simon, special teams. I mean, Wayne's covered a lot there. Is there anything else you're looking for?
Yeah, I think no, I pretty much agree. I just, as far as a return is concerned, I'd just like us to try some. You know, as far you know, when you watch that Bills game the other day, and that has to come down to coaching in some shape or form. But as I say, with the punter, young lad, great, no problems at all. Suck up. He is starting to worry me a touch. He's never been over 50. Everything over 50 has always been a toss up. But I wonder how many years we've got of him. He seems to be fallible this year, but overall, you know, I'd trust him. I'd trust him under 50. And I suppose the bottom line is, let's not try and use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're trying to kick from longer than 50, we've got bigger things to worry about.
Yeah.
Alex, then, money where your mouth is time. When I look at the scoreboard with 0-0-0 in the fourth quarter, what's it going to be saying?
I've had to have a good long think about this. I think it's going to be closer. I think it's going to be a close one. I can see both teams giving up points here. I don't think it's going to be hugely low scoring. I think there'll be points on both sides here, particularly because, as we said earlier, Dak Prescott is liable to throwing interception. One half we seem to be, a legendary team, and another half we seem to just stay in the locker room. But of course, I am going to go for a Buccaneers win. I had to go for a Buccaneers win. It's playoff football now. So I'm going to go for 27-20 to the Buccaneers.
Okay, so a one-score win, and that relies on us getting the ball in the end zone quite a lot compared to how we normally have. Wayne,
and a few field goals under 50 yards.
Wayne, your score prediction?
Like Alex said, it's a really difficult one to call for this. And again, same as Alex, I can't call against the Bucs. I'm sorry, so I've gone for 20-17 win.
So a bit tighter, a bit lower scoring. Maybe a last-minute kick. Maybe whoever gets the ball on that final yards. Possession. Yeah. Okay, Simon, are you also gonna be head over heart or heart over head?
It's heart over head all the way for me.
Yeah.
It's Bucs 24, Cowboys 17, and I'll even say that it will finish with a 2-minute drive, touchdown to Mike Evans with about 15 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah. Do you know what I've got? I promise you, I'm not cheating. I've got 24-17 down as well. I think I completely agree with you. I think it's whoever has the ball last will win. My worry is, and I know this is a good worry to have, my worry is that deep shot to Evans at the end comes with about 2 minutes left on the clock. Yeah. And then you've got I'm worried that's what it's going to come down to. And I think for me, we haven't talked about this so much, but for me, I think the key will be few or no flags, and not just Godwin, but everyone hang on to the damn ball with both arms, because people have seen the tape now, and you can bet they're going to be punching every player, every ball, trying to get that ball out because they think they're onto something.
Godwin obviously realises that's a problem because he was working with Julio Jones, wasn't he, after his fumble on the sideline?
I think in both cases that I remember seeing the replays, they were just really good defensive plays. Yeah. It wasn't that he wasn't holding on to the ball. No. He just came in at 90 miles an hour with a fist right on the ball. And, it's not a lot you can always do about that.
No.
So you've heard it from us. Obviously, we are a statistically valid sample, and 100% of us believe that the Buccaneers will be winning on Sunday. If you agree, or if you disagree, you're on the wrong YouTube channel. But give us a comment down below why you think we're right, why you think we're wrong, and what you think it's going to be. We can't offer good odds, but we think we'll cover the spread. Simon and Wayne, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, Alex, you're going to be hosting next week. We're going to be back next week, win or lose, because we're going to need to review it. But we hope we've got a game to preview, and we'll see what happens there. We're into sudden death. But goodbye. Thank you for watching. And as ever from all of us, go Bucs!
Go Bucs!
Go Bucs!
Go Bucs!